Somebody that did often have a positive outlook and make a big impact on our community was Sherri-Anne Wynter, the longtime co-chair of the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force, who unfortunately suddenly passed away at the end of February. On Monday, April 1st, the West Bloomfield Township Board will recognize her immense impact on our community through the Diversity Task Force, her volunteerism with West Bloomfield Parks, and other ways she got involved here in Greater West Bloomfield and beyond. Here to share some of her immense impact on our community with us as we recognize the life and the legacy of Sherri-Anne Wynter is her fellow co-chair with the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force, Vincent Kirkwood. Vincent, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you on, although under unfortunate circumstances as we no longer have Sherri-Anne Wynter with us. But let's focus on the impact that she had on our community. And let's begin with your work with her on the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force. Both of you were on this task force from the very beginning just a few years ago. And just take us through your journey with Sherri-Anne as you and the entire team throughout our community helped to build this initiative into something that's already had a huge impact on Greater West Bloomfield.
Well, I'll start by saying that we've lost. It's with heavy hearts that we've lost Sherri-Anne, and her impact is going to always remain in West Bloomfield, with the task force, with the school board, with the parent network, and so many of the things that she did. We're never going to lose that. But it is very sad that she is now no longer with us. The diversity task force is what I can speak on the most with Sherri. Uh, Years ago, I think it was in 2020, I emailed the executive director, and remember that I'm the Parks and Rec commissioner as well.
Yes.
But I emailed as a resident, and I said, we want to do something, or I want to do something that reflects the community as it relates to diversity. And before I made that call, I called Sherri, and I said, Sherri, this is what I'm thinking. And she gave me some pointers, she gave me some tips, and she was an advocate for it, which is one of the reasons why I pursued it. Once we started moving forward with plans to create this diversity task force, Sherri-Anne was the very first resident, very first person that was a volunteer with me on this task force. And ever since then, she's been a huge advocate. She's been a worker. She's been a leader, a true community leader as it relates to the diversity task force.
And that energy and enthusiasm you speak of when you talk about the early days of the task force, building that into being a task force at all altogether in our community, that really does reflect the energy and the enthusiasm that Sherri-Anne approached everything that she did, especially when it came to serving her community and her neighbors.
Absolutely. There would be no task force without Sherri-Anne. Just her input, her enthusiasm, as you mentioned, her impact, her energy, whether it be events, whether it be thought leadership, all of those things that you need, she possessed and she brought to the table. One of the things that I'm affiliated with a lot of extracurricular activities and boards and things like that. But I always say I don't want to be a part of it if I can't work and do the things that impact the community, that impact the group. Sherri was that way. She didn't want to do anything unless it was really impacting, unless she was really having a voice. And everything she did, she made sure she had a voice, whether it was Toastmasters, whether it was dealing with the West Bloomfield Community School Group with her children, whether it was being a mom, the task force, and everything else she was a part of. She really impacted it. It wasn't just, I'm doing this to just be doing it, but she did it to make a difference. And she made a difference in all of the things that she did.
We're talking with Vincent Kirkwood, the co-chairperson of the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force, as we recognize the life and the memory and the legacy of Sherri-Anne Wynter, who passed away suddenly in late February. She was a longtime member of our West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force, really from the very beginning, and had such an impact across our community in a number of volunteer areas. Her life, her legacy will be recognized in a proclamation to be read at the April 1st meeting of the West Bloomfield Township Board. That will be broadcast live right here on Civic Center TV and on 89.3 Lakes FM. And Vincent, you talk about working with her and the way that she approached her volunteer work in the community. And that's what this was. We want to really recognize that she is giving her time and her energy and her heart into putting everything that she did into helping other people in our community and advancing our community. And as someone that does a lot of that himself, what did you learn from working with someone like Sherri-Anne and her approach to community service?
You know, one of the rare qualities that I think is one of her best qualities is her ability to connect with people on a personal level. So I think, we talk about what we're going to do for the community. We talk about how we're going to impact those around us. However, she was able to do that with a personal touch. And that's what I loved about her, is that she would, talk about all the things that we needed to speak about, and the differences that we needed to make, and things like that. But she would also, uh I'm gonna get a little personal. She would bring peaches over to my home for my kids and my family. We would talk about the task force, we would talk about the schools. We would talk about things we wanted to do on Parks and Rec Commission. But then at night, after our conversation, she would come over and say, "Hey, I just dropped some peaches off to you and the family." So she had a mix between the work that she wanted to do in the community, but also had that personal touch. And if you look at and listen to all of the things that were said about Sherry over the last month or so, those are some of the things that you'd hear. You'd hear her personal relationships, and how she was able to include that into her work in the community. So if you're in the community and you hear about her, you're going to hear personal stories as well. You're going to hear how she impacted the community with the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force, Toastmasters, West Bloomfield Parent Association Network. But you'll also hear how she was able to connect with you on a personal level. I'll give you one more example. We were at the Juneteenth Expo, and I was with my son, who's 5 years old, and I saw Sherry, and we talked. And my son was, he wanted his mom, of course. And Sherry took him, and I said, "Sherry, he doesn't need anything. He doesn't need any chips or juice or smoothie or Slurpee or anything like that." She was like, "Oh, he's with me. He's fine." So maybe 15 or 20 minutes go by, and then she takes him. He comes back with a smoothie, chips, all of the things that I said he didn't eat. And I said, "Sherry, he didn't eat all this." She said, "He was with me. He's fine." And he would call her Auntie Sherry. And I told, in our community, we put a handle on the name. So it was Auntie Sherry. And he wanted to go with her. And she treated him as though he was her own. Same situation that happened when we were at the splash pad. He wanted to go play, and Sherry took him. And I mean, that's just the kind of person she was. We talked about community, we did community work, we made an impact, but her personal touch was remarkable. It was delightful, and I'm gonna miss that about her.
Yeah, she really had a way to make you feel like you were part of her heart and you were part of
Absolutely.
what she wanted the world to look like in a way that was always going to be positive and always going to be impactful. I think about my last interaction with Sherri-Anne was at the 2024 Black Expo, which was something that she took under her wing and made incredible in 2024, as she had in years before, with the help of so many other volunteers on the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force and throughout the community. The second we locked eyes when I got to the event, she's coming up immediately and saying, "How can I help you? What do you need? Do you need someone to talk to?" I was looking for people to speak with, and I'm pretty good at picking that up and figuring out interesting people to talk to in these situations, and been doing this for a long time. But she was so encouraging with those people that seemed a little bit nervous and said, "No, you're in good hands here. This is someone you want to be talking to. He's going to take care of you. You're in good hands. Trust me. I know. I've been in that situation." And that was super helpful for our team on this side in putting that story together. And really just, I think, like your stories, exemplifies what Sherri-Anne Wynter was all about. We're joined by Vincent Kirkwood. He is the co-chairperson of the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force and is also a commissioner on the West Bloomfield Parks and Recreation Commission. We're talking about the life and the legacy of Sherri-Anne Wynter, who suddenly passed away in late February. She will be recognized for her impact on our community by the West Bloomfield Township Board at their April 1st Township Board meeting. That is this coming Monday, April 1st at 6 p.m. That will be broadcast live on Civic Center TV on 89.3 Lakes FM and on our website. And Vincent, you talked about what you've learned from Sherri-Anne over the years. But as we hear more of these stories, and we certainly will at that Township Board meeting, I would imagine in the public comment portion, as so many have told their stories of the impact Sherri's had on them. What do you hope as people hear these stories, as they learn more about Sherri-Anne, as they reflect on maybe their own interactions with Sherri-Anne, what do you hope that they have taken away from her life story, although way too short of a life story?
Absolutely. You know, it, Sherri is the example. She was the example of a community leader. And she started in ways that, small impact. And I think that she wasn't a board member, she wasn't a trustee, she wasn't even a parks commissioner, but her impact it was far greater than a lot of those that are on these boards and that do this work. And I think the most important part of what we can take away from Sherri is that how you can start small and have small impact, and it turns into great success. And I think that is an example that we can take from Sherri. If you want to do something, don't just talk about it, but do it. And start in a small way. Talk to certain people that will be advocates. The Black Expo you mentioned, Tyler, is something that we started in 2021, I believe. And if you look at the progression and where we've come from that was all Sherri. She started that, she grew that, she wanted that to be great. And if you look at 2024, and I wasn't in attendance, and I called Sherri about a week or two before the Black Expo, and I said, Sherri, I'm going to go to the Super Bowl, so I won't be at the Black Expo. And she was like, Vincent, we got it handled. We got it. And I hear that this was one of the best expos that we've had in the last 3 years. And she took that and ran with that. But it started small. She looked for vendors. She looked for what she included the West Bloomfield, I believe it was the jazz band last year and the year before. Um, and then now look at it. And I think that stems from, wanting to make an impact, wanting to start small, but having a great success story, great impact on what you're trying to do. So I think the thing that to take away um, from Sherri is that you can be great. You can be a great community leader. You could be a great community servant leader. It just takes that next step, and Sherri took that step, and and we're so grateful for it. The city, I'm sorry, the township, the residents, her anybody she worked with, we're really grateful for her taking those steps that she took in order to be who she was.
You find some way, any way that you can make a positive impact on somebody, on your community, and you go at it with everything in your heart. That's definitely what Sherri-Anne did. She ran for school board. She didn't end up on the school board. Still got involved as a PTO president, as the president of the West Bloomfield African American Parent Network, kept being heavily involved in that, and it was someone that showed how much she cared by action, not just by words, but
Yes.
by action, and that action typically was through other people. We're giving her so much credit and very much due for her work on the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force, but really I think the largest impact she made was that inspiration through her volunteerism for others that are volunteering or others that are just getting involved to understand that they can really have a massive impact by, as you said, making those small efforts here and there to help out people in their community.
And that's what she did. I mean, it she was involved in so much and made an impact and so much in effort, that's who she was. And the community needs that. The community needs to embrace that and continue the legacy that Sherri-Anne had. I know I've got more work to do. Um, the others in the community have more work to do, and we're willing to do that. We're willing to step up. We're willing to say, you know what, Sherri's not here with us anymore, but this is what she would have done. This is how she would have handled this situation, and this is how she would have impacted this event. And I think we're going to take that and be able to move forward through her legacy, and that's going to give us the hope that we need um, in the community to know that Sherri-Anne did so much and was so active and had such a great impact. And we're really going to miss that about her.
Yeah, the loss of Sherri-Anne Wynter, a massive loss for our community, but the impact that she's had and the ways that she has inspired people to live life kind of as she did throughout her although abbreviated life and time here in West Bloomfield. That's what's going to be the lasting impact. That's what that recognition is for, and we'll have a chance to recognize her even further Monday, April 1st, 6 o'clock p.m. at West Bloomfield Town Hall. They will read a proclamation recognizing the life and legacy of Sherri-Anne Wynter. That will be with us live on TV, radio, and on the web through Civic Center TV. We're joined by Vincent Kirkwood, co-chairperson of the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force, as we talk about the life and the legacy of Sherri-Anne Wynter in Greater West Bloomfield. Vincent, before we let you go, any lasting thoughts or anything else that you would like to say about Sherri-Anne as we recognize her memory?
You know, we talk about her work in the community and we talk about all of the things that she did, but let's not forget that Sherry Ann was a mother. She was a mother of two, and, you know, and she was a sister, she was a daughter, she was a friend, she was a mentor, she was all of these things. So I think it's really important to understand that and, you know, huddle around her family, huddle around her children, those who see her children in the community, whether it be at school, the splash pad, the community, the rec center, whatever it is, the library. Uh, I think that as a community, we need to huddle around her and her family during this time because it's going to be an everlasting impact for her family, those who are close to her. So in addition to understanding and recognizing her impact in the community, I think it's important to understand that she was a mom and that I think what we can do is huddle around her family and her children and always be there to support them in this tough time.
It's the time for our community to love her family as she loved our community like it was her family. Vincent, thank
Yes.
you so much for your time.
Thank you.